is yours, Cristina. Yes. Cristina Branquinho from the University of Lisbon.
Good afternoon. I'm the working leader of the work package 3, of the working group 3, and which is mainly based on plants, ecology, and I'm in fact coming from an ecology background. Our group is more heterogeneous because it has people from different areas, from different countries, which is good that we can include all the views and have a look on how plants' point of view in this working group. So the main objective of the discussed action is the establishment and management of vegetation in desertified areas and trying to mitigate that. So, as all of you were saying today, there are some common patterns in drylands. So high spatial heterogeneity, high temporal variability, which is difficult to deal, so those are common things that we need to deal. Sometimes precipitation can be 100 millimeters in 1 year and then 700 in the same place. That is really very huge differences for vegetation. And we can also have different spatial heterogeneity depending on microclimatic conditions, on interactions with other animals and facilitation with other plants, as was shown today. And common results are not all plants grow in the same area. It depends on the period you put the plants, it depends on the next year's rain. So there's always high mortality. It's a very slow process, as all of them you were saying. And sometimes when we try to make reclamation, rehabilitation, restoration, there are unpredictable trajectories depending on the conditions. So nature has a main point here. And anyway, with all these problems and variability and the need for long time scales, our objectives here are to enhance vegetation cover and establishment and optimize management. And I think overall we need and we want to improve the services and the goods that our ecosystem provides us. And the scale that we want to do this is coming from the ecosystem to the plant level. So we feel all the three levels here. And specifically to our working group, and besides these main scientific questions and what the meaning of the cost needs to or aims to make networks between different countries. And in this case, I think it's very interesting because different continents, and I think that is pushing very hard for this, and it's really interesting. So most of the times we want to compare the European and North American knowledge with the rest of the world and try just to make flux in both directions, trying to understand from traditional knowledge and technical know-how and theoretical knowledge, what principles can we have and can we put it all together at the end. So we just had the first meeting as a working group, so we are really at the starting point, so we don't have a lot of results. But feeling just after the discussions within people, we have these steps within our working group. So plant selection, what are the best plants? How can we just introduce some rules about that? What are the functional groups? What are the traits about phenotypic plasticity? Also, nursery growing, just genetic variability, local seeds, not local seeds. Planting methods, plant interactions with other organisms, and I need to include now animals. Seeding methods and plant establishment, because sometimes this is a trigger point. So about methods, how can you select the right adaptations of plants to certain place? How can you manipulate microclimate? And issues, those steps were mainly related about what is the proposal and issues that were raised during the meetings about integration of social and economic component of the restoration that all of us also talked about here today, promotion of biodiversity at all levels, from the genetic to the interaction level, and also trying to, at the end, resume these as principles of restoration that can be applied everywhere. And the strategy that we decided could fuel those results were, of course, trying to see the gaps between science and politics, because the costs wants to resume the knowledge and then just trying to give a message to politics, to practitioners. So, and we think that we can do that with workshops. If we focus and if we have questions, I think it would be very nice with a question promoting a workshop and trying to bring not only COST members but also other people that are involved in these areas. And promote to review, the writing of the review papers or technical papers depending on the subjects. Also, again, maybe based on cost, but again, bringing people from other places. Promoting training schools and short missions. Students and young people have here a major role. And at the end, disseminate the major conclusions to the society. So this is the strategy. Because we just at the first meeting, those are one of the questions and topics that were selected and were written by me and discussed by everyone, and after that first meeting. So maybe we can include some more subjects, and maybe we can just leave some of them, so that there's still ongoing work. There are some questions about the use of native plants, when to use native plants, when to use agronomic or other exotic species, and what are the challenges, what are the benefits, if there are any, or what are the problems, and make some synthesis about this. So this is something that Burns, I think, is interested on, and my colleague from Portugal she's been working with some exotic species on a more ecological point of view, and agronomic species also, so she could be also a person to include everyone. The idea is that everyone from COST that wants to contribute will be welcome, and the case studies, everything. And the leading author can invite other persons outside of COST to make these kind of things. This doesn't mean there's a paper, it's just an idea that was brought, and it's interesting, and we could just use it. Another one is more related with the establishment, because sometimes we make everything right, but in the field it doesn't train during 3 years and everything goes down. So what can we do to increase the success of restoration at the establishment period? And Alejandro Valdecantos is one of the Spanish representatives and is interested on the subject, so he's a potential guy that can lead this area. And then, how far can we go in selecting the right native plant traits for the right place and the right time in drylands? And this means that including this fact in temporal heterogeneity, so we know that it can rain 100 and maybe 700, and solve these problems of spatial and temporal heterogeneity. And I would be interested to lead this kind of work and compare also with things that I've been doing in Africa and Brazil, the more driest area, because we have some privileged contacts there, but of course, including other places, if people have the contacts and information available. Other things that were also proposed by the Greek colleagues were the diversity of the seeds and the way that they've been used in restoration. So this is another point which is promoted by these colleagues. And Peter Cross from Germany is interested on looking overall, in a holistic view, trying to see what are the rules that are common to all these case studies and all to these questions, and try to draw some principles, this is a hand, of ecological restoration. So it could be just, a big hand if you could do this. There are also some other things like seed gathering, reduction, more technical stuff that we can also need maybe to address, but we still don't have anyone to put in the hand that area. Okay, to do this is what we've already discussed at the first meeting. There's a proposal of a training school at the Iberian level, which fills the working group 3 and 4, and especially because Maria Jose and Alejandro are also involved in this. So we have, those are some of the topics that we will probably discuss. We still are discussing this, so it's not an end. And the idea is to go to some of these places. This is Mediterranean typical area close to Lisbon. This is in the south of Portugal, in the more Atlantic area, the Montado system with Quercus sugar dominated. This is with the Quercus ilex one, so more in the continental part of the country. This is already, you know, from Rosé studies in Aranjuez, and we have also some interesting sites to see and Valencia with several techniques. But if I have some time and answering to Simon, I have some time to Simon to the question, how long does it take to recover after, well, just to say that the output, some of the outputs could be 2-3 papers, sorry, and promote a workshop, training school that simulate results as an output. Just to answer to your question, and I just put some slides here. This is an area in the south of Portugal, the continental area, where we have a semi-arid climate. This was the result of a plantation of Quercus ilex. You see here that the plantation was not so successful after 13 years. This part was okay, but this southern part was not successful. So we tried to study a place that is a natural reserve since the 50s, because it is a state property, and it was left after agricultural abandonment and after intensive cereal production on the 30s and 40s. And what we've made is look at the importance of microclimate on those areas. So we looked to the north slopes and south slopes of small mountains, about 300 meters in these areas, and we measured the potential solar radiation using GIS systems. And also we used the time scale with photographs and aerophotograph interpretation to study the evolution of vegetation, of tree vegetation here, which is mainly Quercus. So you see the image from 58, which is really empty, so it was real production. And this is the north slope with trees and the south slope without almost any trees. We found that in the south slope, the number of trees, even after 60 years of abandonment, were really low, whereas in the north slope, you could have almost 100% of cover with trees. So it takes a lot of time, but it depends on which phase you are. So it depends. It could be more than 60 years or not, I don't know, in the south, because we don't have so long time span. So that, to answer your question. But the interesting thing is when we model this, so we were able to model this with potential solar radiation years after abandonment and the precipitation, annual precipitation. We've made the model, and when we simulated to the same area where the revegetation process was done before, we found that potentially, even after 60 years, the natural regeneration would not occur there. So this is a really low natural regeneration. So what I would say here is that probably people would not invest in this restoration because the conditions here were not appropriate to maintain the trees, or you need to do something else, not just leave the plants there. So this was one point, just to show you that we are, in these areas, we are really interested in, even when we have small changes in total precipitation, like here, this gradient from the interior to the more coastal area of Portugal, we have shifts in plant communities, annual plant communities and herbaceous plant communities. So annual grasses changes a lot in terms of percentage along a small precipitation gradient. So there's a lot of shifting communities. The diversity is there, but the proportion of their cover is different. Also, specifically fairy changes within this gradient, so there's a lot of changes. Those are special changes. And this could be interesting because they also could occur in time. We don't know, but we can follow these groups which are changing for future long-term studies. To show here that we had the construction of really the biggest dam in Europe, which was filled in 2002 in Portugal. And one of the interesting effects, we are not sure that that was a really major effect, but this is an important thing to say, was that we got a tropicalization of the lichen flora after 2006. So this is a lichen algae which makes the symbiosis in lichens seen in tropical areas. And it's residual in Portugal, in those more arid areas, and increased a lot in the last years. And this was accompanied by the increase in relative humidity. We, of course, associate this with the field of the biggest dam in Europe, but we are not sure because of this cause effect, could be just climate change. But anyway, this was a really nice indication of some kind of tropicalization, because we were hot, but we didn't have relative humidity. And finally, just to say that in Portugal we are also interested in biological soil crusts, and we are trying to enhance its production in order to help sub-restoration areas where this is important. Well, and the training school will be with these views, so just promoting to be in this place. Available for any questions.